once again, thanks for coming on the podcast. I realized when you did, we didn't see your garage, which I should have done it then, but now I came back. I think it's a pretty sweet garage, and you mind showing us around?
Man, I'd love to. I'd love to show you guys around. We've done many bikes in here for many races around the local area and even on nationals. So, man, I'd love to take you guys through a nice garage tour.
All right, let's start down here.
All right. Man, most of it, what we got in here right now are personal bikes. So this is Kim's adventure bike. This bike's actually gone all the way across the country on the Trans-America Trail off-road.
Wow.
So it's got like 52,000 miles on it. It's a BMW 650 GS. Just been kind of a cast iron reliable unit. Kim loves it. It was mine, then she inherited it when she climbed off her Ninja 250. And she won't let it go ever since. She says, I'm not getting a new one until this one is completely ran into the ground. So.
Yeah, right before we started recording, I was like, man, I love that BMW. Like, I don't know, there's just something about it that catches your eye.
It does. It's a sharp looking styling bike, man, and it's been a great bike for us. This is probably the longest running one in the garage. This has been here since '09, I think. So yeah, it's the longest lasting trooper in the garage. No updates, no upgrades. Kim wants to keep this one.
Yeah, forever.
Forever, man. She's not letting go of it.
What we got next?
This is my adventure bike. So this is a KTM 950. I got this, and then Kim inherited that. That was probably, I don't know, 06-ish, something like that. And I've been riding this ever since, and I like this. It's a little more powerful than the BMW. It's got a little more quirky features, you know, with more power you get more maintenance, but it's really fun to ride, you know. There's nothing like blasting down a gravel road on a 100 horsepower dirt bike, you know.
Dang.
So it's
What has more miles than you guys put on it, that or this?
the BMW. The BMW's been, like I said, it's been the trooper, man. We've ridden the wheels off of this thing and just changed the oil and put tires on it.
Yeah.
It just keeps on going. So this has only got about 40,000 miles, and we probably only put 20 on that. So we've been slacking off on the adventure bike ride the past couple of years and focusing on the dirt bikes. So.
Moving on. This is Kim's bike.
This is Kim's race bike. This is the Beta Cross Trainer 300. So she's got the Recluse clutch, the handguard, steering stabilizer, you know, all the trick stuff to make her go real fast.
Loves it.
Loves it. This is another one. Once Kim gets attached to one, she does not like to let him go. So she also loves this.
So she's became a bike hoarder like you, slowly.
She's more of a hoarder than I am, I think. I'll let him go and get new ones. She likes, once she finds one she likes, it's here. This is probably going to be a staple in the garage for a very long time, I believe. So. She won 3rd place in the women's national enduro on this bike last year. So
wow.
this bike's got a championship under its belt already. So that's
Sweet.
pretty trick.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, moving
Yeah.
on. This bike.
This is the old CRF 250X. This is kind of the backup play bike, loaner bike, everything else in between. It's actually not that bad for its age. It's an older bike, but it still does great. You know, we did the Recluse steering stabilizer in it, suspension's done. It's ready to ride. It's just not quite as modern as some of the new stuff, but man, it still gets up and goes. It gets around, and it's not really worth getting rid of. I love to have an extra bike to loan someone or go riding with somebody, you know, if their bike's down, or you know, you're more of a mountain bike guy, but if you wanted to go dirt bike riding, I'd be like, hey, Helmer, let's get on that CRF 250X and go.
I don't remember that.
Hey, you're up, man, anytime you want.
So I know this is modified for you. How long does this take to switch out?
It's not too bad. We can switch out the controls. Like I run the dual controls on this, but with the Recluse, I don't really have to grab the clutch a whole lot. But it only takes about, well, I'll show you the hand on the Alta when we get over there, but it only takes about 15 minutes to swap out all my controls and get it set up for, you know, right hand control only. So it's not too bad. We've gotten pretty good at it, I guess, since we've done it a few times. You know, swapping back and forth and buying new bikes, and you know, the setup we'll show you on the Alta, I switched from that bike to this bike from riding this or the adventure bike. So a lot of the bikes don't even have this grip on them. So this has got the grip on it to be a loaner, but like the adventure has no left grip on it, you know, just for when we swap that clip in I have over there out, we can do it as quick as possible. It's pretty much just pull a bark buster, switch some little eyelets out, make sure the controls are set up, and you're ready to rock and roll. So
Sweet, man.
yeah.
Move on to your side-by-side here.
The side-by-side, that's an interesting toy I never thought I would own. We're definitely more two-wheelers at heart, but when I had my accident in 2015, Kim went out and bought this because she was still able to ride, and I was pretty much bandaged, both arms, couldn't do anything. And she bought this to get us back in the woods. And it was fun. We rode it all that summer. It kind of, the riding of it's tapered off after that year. We've still been riding the dirt bikes more than this, but it's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't say it's not fun, you
I
know?
rode with you, a couple years ago down
At Wildcat,
Okay,
yeah. So I mean, we take it out a few times a year, and it's a pretty good time. We've done a little bit of modifications for it, mostly safety stuff. You know, we
Yeah.
put the better seats in it, the harnesses to keep you inside the thing. You know, fire extinguisher, put some lights and bumpers on it. You know, we got it stuck one time. It took us forever to dig it out, so we now have a winch on it too. So hopefully that never gets used. That'll be the best winch we ever bought if we never have to use it, right?
So I'll take this as a loaner when you guys are riding.
We can do that, man. I'd love to put you guys in that. So that would be great. You know, I mean, the more people we can get out, the better.
That's
So,
true, that's true.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right, moving on to your vintage bikes, which are awesome. I love
All the vintage bikes. I'm gonna blame this vintage bike fiasco on Danny Ray,
it. The cameraman.
the cameraman, the man behind the camera. He got me into the vintage bikes a couple of years ago, and now I'm starting to collect them. It's turning into an addiction, maybe some sort of mental illness even. This is a DT 250, and I raced this in the Hare Scramble last year. It was the first year I'd raced it at Vintage Days, and pulled out a third place national title on this at Vintage Days. This
Wow.
is also a title bike. So it's really cool to have it around still. I'm looking forward to riding it again.
What year is it?
74.
Okay.
Yep. Even older than me, and I feel pretty old.
I hear you.
So this thing's fun. It's really fun to ride. It's got the dual controls on it on the same side, which in practice, and if I'm going moderate speed, I can modulate the clutch and the brake at the same time. You know, if the shit hits the fan, it tends to be grab one or the other. You know, when your mind really gets tricked out, you're like, I can't do both. I can't do both.
Then you go on to the trials bike.
Yes, and then we have the vintage trials bike. We used to ride a lot of trials, you know, but since my accident I wasn't able to ride as much trials. But this was my first foray, I guess, into the vintage world, was this trials bike. Because the courses are a lot more moderate for the vintage, and I could sneak my way through, you know, a clubman line on it.
Mhm.
But we completely redid this bike. Didn't do it as a restoration, did it as a reliable rider. Completely redid the motor, even the transmission bearings, I mean everything. Parts were still available for this one. So we went through and have done everything. Kim's raced this in the Hare Scramble last year, took a second place in the Hare Scramble on the
Wow.
trials bike. So it's got a title too. We've ran it in the motocross just cause, you know, it was the only vintage bike we had. We're like, we're at Vintage Days, we're running them all. So we
Right,
ran
right.
motocross on this poor trials bike and everything. And it's just a freaking rock. I mean, it's been great. It's been great. I love the thing to death. This one is also a dual lever one. Yeah, you know, a lot of these vintage stuff they don't make recluse clutches for, things like that, so you have to run the dual levers.
So he's clutched that thing through 3 events.
Yeah, so for 3 years we've done dual clutch or dual levers, clutch and brake on the right side, which again gets a tad interesting when you know
Yeah.
you get a little stressed in something and you're like,
So
I
these
can't-
are both 74.
yes,
If you had to pick one, which one would you take?
I would take the trials bike. I would take the trials bike. I've just had it longer. I've gone through it. You walk by the starter and it lights up. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's just been a great bike. No issues really out of it. I mean, it's been as reliable as a modern bike. So this really I haven't had any problems out of either. It's been great, but I've only ran 1 year on this. So this, you know, I didn't go through this. I kind of bought this as a runner. You know, kind of close to Vintage Days. I didn't really have a whole lot of time to go through it. Put some tires on it, put some oil in it, some gas in it, and kind of just rode the thing.
Yeah.
And it rode fine, ran well, didn't have any issues out of it, but you know, it's kind of a question mark still. Or this one I know where all the pieces and parts and bolts and stuff are. And I like that. It's a little bit of peace of mind, I guess you could say.
I like it. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Then we're moving on to the
Yeah, this
full
is
trials.
this
gas
is
cans.
Kim's modern trials bike. So this is what she was riding when we rode trials almost exclusively for a while. And I have sold my modern trials bike since the accident, so just because I couldn't really ride it. It wasn't worth really keeping around. But Kim still loves hers. Again, like I said, once Kim gets a bike, it's not going anywhere. You know? So like I said, she might be the bigger bike hoarder than I am. So she loves this thing. We were living in Memphis, Tennessee at the time, and she found this thing on Craigslist, wired the guy the money, and drove to Pennsylvania to pick this thing up.
Holy cow.
By herself. I wasn't even there. I didn't see the bike. I didn't ride the bike. I didn't inspect it. This is 100% Kim, and it's been a really, really nice bike for her. It's a little 125. It's light. It starts easy, and that's her biggest thing. If she has to kick it, she doesn't want it to be a hard kicker. She doesn't like the big compression kicks, you know. So that's been just beautiful for her. She's ridden many, many, many trials events in it. She still rides it at Vintage Days. Luckily, they do have a modern class, even at Vintage Days. It's not a championship class or anything, but she can still get out and even ride that at Vintage Days with us, you know.
I feel like the Vintage Days are taking over for you.
Oh, the Vintage Days, yes. I can cuss again Danny Ray many, many times for getting me into that. And it's just exploded. I mean, vintage bikes have gone from barn finds that you couldn't give away to, I mean, thousands of dollars put into these bikes. I mean, some of these bikes are worth more than brand new bikes in the showroom. And you can really tell they're really, really nice bikes out there. They look like they work really, really well too.
So you're working on this for a friend.
We're working on this for a friend. This is also Vintage Days. He's got a pretty good gig going. We worked on it last year before Vintage Days, and then he said, hey, why don't you haul it to Vintage Days for me? And I said, hey, no problem, I'll bring it up. So he raced it, and then he said, hey, I'm gonna want you to do some more work to that. Why don't you just take it home with you for Vintage Days? So now I've got it again, and I bet it sits here till Vintage Days again. And then he says, hey, why don't you haul it up for me again? So he's got this like mechanic race delivery deal going on that I really wish I was on the other end of. I'm on the
Sounds
wrong.
like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he really has got it figured out. I have been on the wrong end of that deal, I think. So.
Is this thing the same price as the other one?
Yeah. This is the DT250. This is a Penton 250, the older KTMs. So it would run in the same class as that.
Okay.
And this bike's got some pretty trick stuff on it. It isn't a beautiful restoration, you know, as far as going for aesthetics. It's a rider as well. But the bike was purchased for right around $2,000, and there's about $2,000 for the suspension on it. You'd never be able to tell by looking at it or walking by it. You know, if you didn't know what you were looking at, it's just another old, dirty motorcycle. But this was pretty trick. It runs pretty well. The suspension, you know, because they're limited to 4 inches of travel in the rear. So if you can make that 4 inches work well, that's a big deal. You know, where a modern bike's 12, you're working with 4. It gets a little rough out there. That 4 inches of travel doesn't soak it up like you would like all the time.
I bet. So we move on to the final bike. That's the electric Alta.
This is my new race bike. It's an all-electric Alta. It's on the lift and has some parts taken off of it because it has an issue that we're working through. Unfortunately, it has to be done with a laptop. We're working on getting some software straightened out for it. So it's all plug-in, not much mechanical going on here. Hopefully with a firmware update and stuff, we can fix the issues going on with it. But the bike is absolutely awesome. A friend let me borrow one when I was looking for a new bike, and I got to ride 4 or 5 different bikes that day. You know, YZ 250FX, KTM 350s. I think we even had the Beta out there, and then we had this. Somebody let me borrow this to ride. And I just borrowed it because I was like, who doesn't want to ride an electric bike? Why not? You know, it'll be fun. And I fell in love with the thing. And went out and bought one, and it's been great. The power on it is just absolutely unbelievable. It's as smooth as silk. It's got 4 power settings, and I never ride it on 4. It's just absolutely out of control on 4. I can't keep the hold of the thing, so hopefully we can get its little issue ironed out here pretty quick and be back on it. I really like this thing. Here's my trick hand setup there, where it's a clip-in, works kind of like an air chuck, where it's just got ball bearings in it. It has a tether that attaches to my glove, runs through these little eyelet guides, runs through here. When this hand comes off, that tether snaps this thing open, and it breaks more or less, I guess, what you'd call the wrist. So this is the hand, and it breaks right here at the wrist. So the wrist and forearm all come off the bike with me as well. And it works really, really well. I mean, it's hung up a few times, but enough that I still feel pretty safe on the bike to be able to ride. I don't feel fully locked in. So
That's cool.
yeah,
How many hours you think you get if you do a ride on this?
I can sneak out about 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes in a race type environment. But you know, since the accident, I'm a C-level rider. The faster riders, you know, if you put an A or a double A or even a pro rider on it, they could nuke the battery in an hour and a half just because they'd be asking so much more of the bike. But for me, it works great.
You said it's about a 3-hour charge.
It's about a 3-hour charge, so that is a bummer. They do have an hour and a half quick charger. We just haven't gotten to that point yet, so the hour and a half would sure be nice. But you know, after a race or something, after the 2 hours, I don't want to ride it again for a minute anyway.
Well, hey man, thanks for showing us your garage.
Hey man, anytime.
No problem.
Anytime.
Well, that's it from Adam's Garage. Thanks for watching.